everything to Him alone. And that is something which we need to keep in our mind. Sometimes we become so arrogant as husbands, as fathers, as leaders, that we begin demanding the blind following or absolute following, and without asking any explanation or without any ifs or buts. Why? Because I'm father. Why? Because I am husband. Why? Because I am leader. Why? Because I am alim. Why? Because I am this or I am that. So at that time, we are trying to become God. Without knowing, we are trying to become God. We are not God. We are insan. Yes, we have somewhat some rights over our spouses, over our family, over our children, over our community, over people around us. But these rights are again with checks and balances. This authority is not absolute authority. So this is an important point, my brothers and sisters, we need to keep in mind. It helps when we get mad on our spouses, or when we get mad on our children, or when we get mad on people under our authority sometime. So if they don't listen to us, or if they don't obey us, or if they ask us why I should do this or why I can't do like this, and we feel kind of very much annoyed by those questions or challenged or sometimes upset, that is the time when we need to remind ourselves that I'm not God, that nobody can ask me anything. I'm a human being. I'm insan. I'm only a husband. I'm only a father. I'm only a alim or leader. I'm not God. That people have to follow me blindly and without ifs and buts. People have right to ask, to understand, and to suggest. Sometimes there is a better way of doing some things. So we need to be humble enough that if someone who is maybe junior than us, younger than us, but if he or she comes up with a better idea, with a better suggestion, then we should be humble enough to accept that and not make it the issue of arrogance, that since I'm senior, since I'm older, since I'm father, since I'm husband, since I'm boss, so I'm always right. I remember here, I visited one of my friends in Canada, in Edmonton, at his workplace, and in his office, he had a small, I don't know what you call it, a decorative piece, and it was written, "Boss is always right." So it was that the boss is always right. So I challenged him. I said, no, that's not the case. It's not ayat-e-tathir which has come down on boss. So boss is right, but is not always right. So your employee can be also sometime more right than you. So try to, it teaches us the humility, that we should be humble and we should be open. Recite a salawat. The second point is ibadat. We tried to clarify last time, but there were so many things on my plate and sometimes things get mixed up. Ibadat is not only worship. Ibadat is not only as we use the word in our native language, puja, for example. In Hindi or in Urdu, they use the word puja. Puja part. Puja. Puja or worship is part of ibadat. And it is ibadat, but this is not the only ibadat. Ibadat is something much wider concept. It is in mantiq, in logic, we use a term, umum khusus mutlaq. Meaning, they say, for example, in our times, ulama love halwa, and this is something that for a variety of reasons. So when we were being taught, our teachers were used to give us this example, that every halwa is sweet, but every sweet thing is not halwa. So you understand these two things? So every halwa is sweet, but every sweet thing is not halwa. So similarly, every worship is ibadat. Every act of worship is ibadat. But every act of ibadat is not worship. It can be something else. But it is still considered ibadat. For example, sadaqah is ibadat. Helping someone, giving someone, for example, ride, volunteering to go and serve the neighborhood. It is ibadat. It is act of ibadat, but it is not worship. Giving someone some qarz, for example, loan or money, it is act of ibadat, but it is not worship. There are riwayat that, for example, when a son or daughter looks at the face of parents with love, compassion, with respect, this look at the face of parents is considered ibadat. This is not worship, but it is ibadat. You are doing it in your family room, in your living room, just by looking at the face of your father or mother with love, with respect, with admiration. Alaykum salam wa rahmatullah. It is an act of ibadat. We have that known hadith normally which we quote in majalis, an-nadaru ila wajhi Ali ibn Abi Talib ibadah. So our ulama, sometime when they respond to that, they say, if you are still worrying that whether looking at the face of Ali is ibadat or not, the hadith says looking at the face of any father and mother is ibadat. And if looking at the face of any father or mother is ibadat, Ali is our grandfather. He is the father of fathers. He is our spiritual father. He is our father in our iman, and is even has more rights upon us than these fathers. So of course, looking at the face of Ali is father. But hadith is not only that much, or that one which we always hear in majalis. This is also hadith. Looking at the face of your father or mother with admiration, with respect, is ibadat. Or hugging your child and taking your child and putting in your lap, or kissing your child, is an act of ibadat. So this is also another sort of ibadat. If you are walking and you see that there is something on the road which can hurt people who are walking or who are driving, sometimes there is this bunch of tree, for example, a branch of tree comes on the road, or if there are some stones just on the road, and you know that anybody who is driving, he or his car will be hit with this one. So you stop somewhere and then come and remove this branch or this wood or this whatever is there. So this itself is an act of ibadat. Giving a good advice to someone, doing al-amr bil ma'roof an-nahi anil munkar, is ibadat. So ibadat, the concept of ibadat is very wide, and it covers actually the whole lifestyle. Working and earning halal, for example, is one of the best ibadat. The hadith says that there are 10 portions of ibadat. If you look at ibadat and divide it into the portions, 9 portions are working and earning halal for yourself and for your dependents. This is one of the best acts of ibadat. that you come out, you go, you struggle, you work, and you earn something to maintain yourself and your family and dependents or anybody who is around. So, the kasb, like tijarat for example, or work, is ibadat. Helping at home your spouse is an act of ibadat. Anbiya were used to do it, A'imma were used to do it. There is a picture of Imam Khomeini, many of you may have seen it, standing in kitchen and making cup of tea from samawar. So can you imagine that a marja taqleed and a leader of leaders, supreme leader, Imam Khomeini in his 80s, is himself going in the kitchen and making the tea for himself. I have quoted you sometime in one of my speeches that once I had meeting early in the morning with my teacher and my marja, Ayatullah Nasir Makarim Shirazi. Early in the morning, I think it was around 6 o'clock or something like that. The sun had not risen. So that was the commitment, because I had to fly for America, and so that's why it was very early meeting. I went at his home, and he came himself to open the door, because his family members, they were all in Iran. It is one of the mustahabbat or wajibat to go back to bed after praying Fajr, the morning prayer. So this is their lifestyle. I'm just using humorously this word mustahab or wajib, but meaning this is part of their Iranian culture. The reason, again, they stay up until late at night. This is Iranian habit. They love to sit around with the whole family and friends and talk about East and West and everything, and philosophy and poetry and religion and all that, and keep serving tea and food and nuts and this and that. So this is how their lifestyle is. But they get up early in the morning, they pray, and then everybody goes back to the bed. So Ayatollah, who is marja taqleed, he didn't want to ask his servant or any member of family to remain up, for example, because Sheikh Faezi is going to come and he will knock the door or he will ring the bell, so somebody should be available. He didn't bother to ask anyone. When I rang the bell, so Ayatollah Makarim himself walks from his bedroom, from all, back home, the homes, the sehen, the courtyard and all that, comes at the door, opens the door, takes me in his room, meeting room. He had a small meeting room at his home. When I sit there, he just slips from the room, and after about 5 minutes, he come back and he has a cup of tea in his hands, and he puts in front of me, and then because teachers are very humorous and they are very zindadil kind of people, so then he looks at me and he says, this tea is not just any tea. This tea is made by marja taqleed. Marja taqleed has made this cup of tea, so you have to drink it. So these are the meaning our leaders. And people, they never make this issue that I am marja taqleed and I am alim and I am a scholar and I am leader, and here now I have to go and I have to make tea for my guest and I have to enter in my kitchen and do all this. So, my brothers and sisters, doing all this, what I have mentioned, is ibadat. So, ibadat is a lifestyle. Ibadat is a lifestyle. It is a way of living your life in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And let me conclude here. 2 ways of looking at ibadat. One, some people, they think that ibadat is only prayer, mafati, tasbih, sajdagah, masjid, and then going for Hajj and Umrah and Ziyarat. This is ibadat. But other than that, all those things they will consider this is politics, this is business, this is family, this is that. They have different names for those things. But to them, ibadat is only this tasbih and sajdagah and this, or Hajj or namaz. While The true concept of ibadat is a whole lifestyle living in the service of Allah and in the service of society. Now, if you want to see the example, today is 28th of Safar, 28th of Rajab, 28th of Rajab. And if you want to see the example, you will see that people living in Medina are just glued down with Medina because this is a holy land and there is a Masjidun Nabi and we pray 5 times in Jamaat in Masjidun Nabi. So why should leave this one and go wandering around the world with Imam Hussain, for example? He is leaving Medina. So Imam Hussain considers leaving of Medina afdal ibadat, then remaining in Medina and praying in Masjidun Nabi. Imam Hussain prays in jungle. Imam Hussain prays, for example, in desert. Imam Hussain prays out of Medina and anywhere without a masjid and considers afdal ibadat. But those people who had that traditional concept of ibadat, to them masjid and Masjid Nabi and standing in the first row and praying with Jamaat is more important. This is how sometimes people get deceived by religious concepts, their misunderstanding of religion. And then if you want to see a better contrast, then I will take you to Makkah, where Imam Hussain is opening his ihram, cancelling his Hajj, leaving Makkah and going toward Iraq, and people saying, no, this is the time of Hajj. We have come all the way. This is the time to keep the ihram, go to Arafat, go to Mina, do Hajj. How can I leave my Hajj? So you understand, both are doing ibadat. Imam Hussain is doing ibadat, and these Hajis are also doing ibadat. But you understand why they are going different way, because their understanding of ibadat is different. Their understanding of ibadat is different. Imam Hussein's understanding of ibadat is much wider. He can compare things. He can compare salat and Hajj and jihad and standing in front of that corrupt government and saving the present and the future of Islam. While the orthodox Muslim is only for prayer and Hajj. And to them that is ibadat. But what Imam Hussain was doing, that was politics. And this is how many religious people couldn't understand the movement of Imam Khomeini. To them, Imam Khomeini was doing politics. So if they were in that time, if they were in Makkah, they would do Hajj. They would not leave with Imam Hussain for Karbala. These people that who still think that Imam Khomeini was doing politics and he was not protecting Islam, if these people were there at that time in Makkah, they would go for Hajj. They would not go with Imam Hussain to Karbala. Because to them, Imam Hussain was now getting into politics and leaving Hajj. So that is why, my brothers and sisters, it's important to understand the background, the depth of these concepts and their proper application. Recite the salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أمير المؤمنين وإمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين فاطمة الزهراء وعلى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة وعلى علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان وعلى آبائه الكرام متصل الليالي والأيام أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون محمد الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر